All right. Hello. Some talking head content. Thought I didn't have much to speak about actually because it's been reasonably quiet. I mean, there's been some excitement in the sim racing event at the Nürburgring. A whole bunch of new pedals seem to be hitting the market from a billion different manufacturers, and that looks interesting. But again, um, there's not really much to say on that front yet. Coming from all but this here is kind of a headline item because pedals is one thing, but when you're coming in with a whole ecosystem out of the blue, yeah, it's a bold move, and they're coming in at the top end of town, the same sort of prices as you'll see as Fanatec. I've just recently learned it's Fanatec, not Fanatec. If you listen to the CEO of the company say, I've got to train myself to do it. I'll slip, but when you've got a brand new company coming in hot with all these bold claims about their tech, big prices, it's interesting. This is something worth looking at. So this company basically has not really existed. Like Moza as a company have existed. You just ask them; they're a leading provider of gimbals in camera technology, and that does require some overlap. That means they make electric motors and electric motor controllers and things like that. So I'm not questioning their manufacturing chops. It looks like they are the real deal as far as being able to make things, which that's if we look at what China is good at, absolutely no question at all. And Moza is a Shenzhen-based company, which these days is this was like saying a technology company out of California back during the whole Silicon Valley peak period. This is a tech manufacturing company out of Shenzhen, China, which again, that's where they all are. So what we have in front of us is a direct drive high-end wheel setup. As you can see, they've gone for some very bold presentation. I like gold trim. I think that looks kind of cool. And when you thinking this is obviously a product of the Chinese market, they're big fans of the gold trim over there as well. So, doing something a little different than just the standard black carbon fiber, I've got no problem with that. But where my big questions are, and again, maybe this is amazing, like I could be way off base here, but my biggest question is this company has come out of nowhere and they have absolutely no presence. Like we don't know anything about who is behind this part of the company. And when you're looking at something like making camera gimbals is one of those things that it's right or it's wrong. If a gimbal keeps a shot stable and focused on what you're pointing at, if it's precise, if it doesn't jerk, those are all things that are measurable. Okay, these are things you can track and target and very effectively judge based on empirical facts, right? Either the shot's in focus, the shot's well framed, or it's not. But sim racing is not empirical. Sim racing is based on feel and sort of vague human factors. And so for something as woolly as sim racing, not having much concept of the human factor behind this company makes it really a big question mark, especially when you're looking at the kind of prices that these guys are talking about. So this is their official site. I won't read out every last little thing, and as you scroll through, like it looks like every other sim racing website. You can see that they offer their wheelbase. They make two spec versions of that. They have two different wheel design types. Both have the same button box, so really the only thing's changing is the actual wheel itself. They make pedals, and they have their dash display box. And again, all this stuff looks kind of cool. There's nothing wrong with anything about how it looks. At first glance, this could be quite legitimate. And again, I'm not saying this company doesn't make these things, but what I'm saying is buying something from this company right now is a huge gamble. Now, when we try to dig into who they are, so if we go to About Us on their website, now, they first of all tell us about their camera stabilizing technology. So, founded in 2012, Goodson Technology. And note, no capitalization. This is a commercial website. they're talking about their history in camera stabilizers and all that. Now they're going to revolutionize simulation with the development of innovative, industry-leading hardware and software. So, for starters, they're making claims about stuff that's going to be innovative. So what we want to see is technology that we don't see in other products. So they're telling us they make a full ecosystem. Great. Okay, we get that. Who are we? So again, we get this line about the camera stabilization and vehicle stabilization. And again, great, fantastic. And I mean, when you go to the camera side of things, it's very well developed. Clearly, they are legit in that side of the equation. But if we look at their vehicle stabilization, we get basically, it's like a PDF. It's like a pamphlet. Like they say, we got a picture of some stabilizers and some servo motors that control those stabilizers. The user experience benefits: it improves handling, control, yaw, pitch, roll and accelerating, braking and tuning, improve driving comfort, suppress low frequency vibration, blah 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 blah. And so we can see here it's a servo controller and an active pneumatic cylinder. We get some power ratings, and that's it. So it's not actually a product yet, right? This is a concept. And even the image they show here, they show this mock-up of their sim rig. Like, is this an automotive stabilizer or what? So here we got this big question mark product. Okay, so this is their credentials. So they tell us about their sub brands here, and again, they're all just products within that same sphere. They continue to innovate by offering premium video equipment and software for content creators. All that is wonderful. Good for them. They actually make products within, they make good products for video and and imaging. Okay, so great. No question there. All right, so, and as we continue, about us, born for sim racers, Moza Racing is dedicated to designing and building the world's best sim racer-focused hardware and software. Products that enable everyone to race at their very best. The full ecosystem, blah, blah, blah. So all this is just circular. Okay, the only thing they link back to is we make audiovisual equipment. So we have no names. We don't know who is the driving force behind that. And that's concerning. Again, it's a company. It doesn't have to be a personal connection between us. But for sim racing, which is something that is driven as much by human factors as it is by tech, it's good to be able to put faces to, names and faces to a product. We want to know who's actually the person that's giving us their expertise in developing this stuff, right? And we get 2 photos of these guys here using the equipment. Who are these people? Are they just technicians within the company? Are they paid? Are they models? Are they what? Okay, we're not getting any useful information from them themselves, and that's a big question mark. Okay, from comparison, okay, let's look at Fanatec. If we want to know more about them, for starters, we've got names, we've got the history of the company, we've got a talk, like they're talking about all the things they've done in the space, and we can see who these people actually are. And if you jump on YouTube, you can see videos of these guys talking about their product, right? And so we can see, are these people actually passionate about what they make, or are they just in it for some cash? Okay, again, that's not essential to the process, but it's a contrast. Okay, it gives us, first of all, a sense of who is making this thing. Now, if we actually now have a look at the actual products, again, at surface value, nothing is out of the ordinary here. I mean, these are better looking products than some of their competitors. They're at the heart of these things, they are just electric motors with a housing on them. But these look quite nice. The production design is fine. When we go into the actual specs, that's where things start to get strange. Okay, so for starters, in terms of the points of resolution and force, these are about what you'd expect for the money they're charging. Okay, and no prices here, so let's get that part out of the way first. Let's jump straight to pricing. Okay, where in the market are they coming in? So we have their flagship product at $18.99 Australian dollars, and their lower spec, sorry, that's their lower spec one, the R16. Their higher spec one is a 21 Newton meter model at $20.99. So we're looking at products that are in the same price bracket as the competition. Okay, so if we look at Fanatec, so just looking at wheelbases, so the DD2 is $24.99, the DD1 $18.99, and the CSL DD starting at $600, right? So that's Fanatec. If we look at SimMagic, okay, we have SimMagic at $1,600 for a wheel bundle. If we're just looking at the base, $1,000. At the Alpha, $16.49, and the Alpha in terms of output, 15 Newton meters, so a little bit cheaper. Now, SimMagic is an interesting contrast because, again, another Chinese manufacturer, but the difference is these guys have put their products in the hands of sim racers, influencers, so they're a known quantity. Okay, they're not just, here's this stuff, take our word for it, it's great. They actually have made the effort to kind of establish some credibility within the field. Okay, if we look at the SimiCube, okay, $22.59 for the SimiCube Pro, which is 25 Newton meters. And if we can see some of the other lineup, see if they've got in stock. The biggest problem with SimiCube right now is availability. The Sport, $19.29. Don't have the Pro in this listing here, but the Ultimate, but obviously that price will be way up there. Okay, and that the output on that I think is 30 something. But the Sport, you're looking at 17 Newton meters. The Pro, 25 Newton meters. So generally, you're paying about $100 per Newton meter in the direct drive wheelbase territory. So straight away, this company is coming in at the same pricing as the existing competitors on the market. And that's the first big question mark. They're wanting us to trust this brand new brand who's come out of nowhere with no credentials for the exact same money. And on that basis alone, I think you'd have to be insane to spend your money on this right now. Now, ask me again in 6 months when they've actually got some reviews, got some in the hands of people, and we've had a chance to see what their after-sales support is like, and then maybe they might be a better way to go. But right now, this company has come out of nowhere with a product straight to retail with no prior exposure, and that is just bold. Okay, and not bold in a good way. That is just, we're just dumping this on the market basically. So let's take a closer look at the flagship, the 21. So looking at the specs for the flagship, the wheelbase R21. So 21 Newton meters on their $2,100 unit. So like I said, that maps to about the $100 per Newton meter kind of pricing we're seeing. These are just marketing points, 262 points of resolution. Look, if it's detecting anywhere north of 65,000, you're looking at a 12-bit plus sensor. And honestly, that's levels of finesse that they should all have. Like, again, not even, like, I think SimiCube are higher, Fanatec might be around 65. It's one of those things where you'd expect precision. Okay, that aspect of things, I would expect nothing less from this mob if they're doing camera gimbals. So it's using a wireless power and communication. So we can see the power actually must be coming through these points here because it's the D1 style, whatchamacallit, it's D1 style quick release. But wireless communication is something you're seeing in a few different models. It's certainly something that you see in SimiCube and a few others. And looking at if it's an all-metal body, we'll have to have a close look at this chassis and see if there is that front part here. If this is all metal, then the wireless must be through a pickup antenna on the back of the unit. App control, I mean, why wouldn't you be using the driver software? But anyway, and 6 key text. So again, mostly gibberish up here, but a couple of key interesting points. So they say it's an industrial grade motor. Okay. Now, if we look at the kind of design, it looks a lot like the Outrunner that's in the Fanatec DD2. rather than the midge that's you know, in the Simucube stuff. So let's see if we just find an image. So that's if we look at the inside of the midge motor, it's more of a servo motor style design. The Outrunner has the big barrel, the big heavy driven element, and it allows it to generate quite a good deal of torque. I'm not going to go too far into the weeds. See, there's a good image of it there. I'm not going to go too far into the weeds about motor types, just because that's super nerdy stuff. But again, feel free to dive into that. But this is, you know, this is technology that exists in the market today. Okay. Now, if we look at the pull apart here, again, we don't really get a sense if this front plate is plastic or metal. Okay, we can see the quick release here, so there's, you know, again, the components all look pretty good, and I wouldn't like I said, I wouldn't expect the actual manufacturing quality to be an issue here. Now, let's dive into the actual, like the fine details here. So first of all, 6 key technologies crafted by experts, designed with great concentration by experts in the field of electric motors. So again, for starters, just marketing mumbo jumbo. What experts? What's their background? Uses innovative structures, V-shaped utmost point to one side, and fractional slot concentrated windings. Yeah, insert turbo retro encabulator clip right here.
The original machine had a base plate of pre-famulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the 2 spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panametric fan.
Under the same volume, the maximum torque of the R16 is 30% larger. Again, that's not really a sentence that makes any sense. 30% larger than what? The torque, ripple, and cogging are further optimized, giving the ultimate smooth steering feel experience. Now, ripple and cogging are terms that you will hear talked about in the direct drive world, and that's just the feel of whether you feel the magnets as you're moving the steering wheel through the motor module, right? And cogging is not a good thing, right? Absolutely, you would definitely not want to feel any cogging at all on a direct drive unit, okay? That's that feeling of lash that you get with a geared motor, and it's not something that should be happening with this type of unit. So then we get to the talk of the design. Who gives a crap? Aluminium alloy body. Okay, so made of aircraft grade aluminium alloy, giving the driver the right weight and feel. Now, these buggers are heavy, right? So aluminium is nice to cut weight a little bit, but ultimately all the extra metal crap that you're bolting onto the outside of this, if it doesn't enhance the cooling of the device, then it's just cosmetic, and so what? 0.01 newton meters of static torque, an optimized motor design that offers practically zero torque, ripple, and cogging, can smoothly recreate a wide band of precision steering wheel feedback, from the feeling of hard braking to the tires riding the curb around a corner. Again, this is just marketing speak, right? It doesn't tell us anything useful. Okay, now here we've got a ghost bashing its head against the wheel. Very nice. I do like this display attachment here. There are plenty of these types of products that are available already, and you can just use an old mobile phone. So, and you know, you connect it up to some SimHub software and you'll be all set. But you know, having a bespoke screen out of the box it's nice. It's a nice little add-on. So, superior temperature control and performance. Has excellent temperature performance even under the most strenuous endurance race. It will not reduce or attenuate torque output due to motor overheating. That is a baseline. Like, really, at this end of the market, if you're not cooling at that level, your product sucks. And there's no other way around it. The temperature control system monitors the motor temperature in real time to avoid possible temperature abnormalities. Now we see air being pulled through the front of the motor here. Is that that must be through the front, because that looks like the drive shaft there. But if we look at the actual design of the chassis, where is that air intake? Okay, if these fins here are the air intake, so that air is being pulled in from the side, because if this is a solid piece here at the front, that air is not coming in through the front. We can see on the back panel there's a little port for exhaust here, so it must use a similar kind of design to the DD2, where you've got a fan on the back here pulling air through. But the DD2 has a input here and a inlet for air directly in front of the motor, so it literally can pull air in through the motor. Now, again, this is kind of nitpicking, but just looking at the design of the chassis, like if this is the front part of the motor, like unless that motor's sitting way back in that body, the air flowing in on the way in is going to be a bit turbulent. So, interesting. Question mark, another question mark around it. But again, I'm sure it runs fine. Okay, these things don't get that hot. Okay, so it tells us the encoder has 262 points of resolution, but it doesn't tell us what sort of encoder. Okay, is it a Hall effect sensor? Is it an optical encoder? We don't know. Zero latency wireless technology. We don't see where the wireless signal is being transmitted. Okay, we have a little cutaway here with some ghostly parts, but again, where's the wireless part? Quad core architecture. No matter how complex the force feedback calculations get, the unique quad CPUs can reliably process a task at maximum precision. Realistically, most of the actual hard work is done at the computer end, and all this thing has to do is interpret the signal and shoot it through to the motor. So this thing, like, it doesn't need that much processing power. Most of the work is done on the hardware, like on the computer, the thing with the big CPU. So here we can see the driver software, and it looks pretty decent. You've got some useful controls here. We've got max steering angle, again, rotation between 90 and 1600, which is plenty. The only people who want that extremely high amounts of rotation are going to be the truck simulator drivers, and 1600 should be enough to keep them happy. Game force feedback filter bandwidth 10 to 50 hertz. Now, considering your best sims are running at 300 plus hertz these days, this is a weird setup. Like, force feedback filtering, is that an interpolation filter? Don't know. Force feedback gain is obviously the strength, but we have game force feedback gain and mechanical force feedback gain. So two different levels of gain here. Is this sort of preamp and post-amp? Again, I'm not sure what the meaning could be there, but why have two power settings? Like, just have one intensity, like one force feedback setting on the actual motor, and then adjust in game. Maxed allowed steering speed, so that will be a damper on rotation. That's a pretty standard thing. And the mech resistance, again, that's sort of going to be the inertia. Okay, so those things are all pretty standard. You've got some presets there as well. Software looks fine. I mean, this fine tune back, the feedback effect equalizer, I think I've seen some of that stuff in the OSW stuff. I haven't played around with that myself, so I won't comment too much on stuff I don't know about. You can change the color of the RGB lights, which is a really important feature. There's your throttle and pedal adjustments. And we can see here the firmware update. So, the software looks like it does the job. But again, there's just, when you get into the advanced settings, and this is the basic settings, and there's the extra level, the advanced settings, which they've just glossed over. They've gone straight to the effect equalizer. Really hard to get a handle on how decent this software is. But again, with no one behind the company who is a sim racing person or a race driver, the software can have as many bells and whistles and handles as you like, but if there isn't someone out there fine-tuning it on the driver end, if they're not providing a decent base setup and providing sort of sample setups, and it all comes down to the user to fine-tune everything. And at that point, you may as well have just bought an OSW and saved yourself $500-600. There's just question marks over it, okay? And, the inevitable app, which again is just a way to fine-tune it instead of doing it on the wheel, whatever. So, when we get to the actual hardware, okay, so we can see, it's direct drive, okay, maximum torque, 21 Newton meters. Now, is that peak force or is that holding force? We don't have that information, unfortunately. But there's a big difference, right? Being able to tap on 21 Newton meters, that means you're at DD1 territory, and DD1's cheaper, right? If it's able to hold at 21 Newton meters, well, then you're a competitor to the DD2. But again, we got to wait and see with that one. In terms of the information here, quick release supported. Okay, what standard? I mean, it looks like D1, but it might just be aping the style. It doesn't tell us if it will actually conform to the standard or not. Okay, if it is D1, great. You can go and buy real wheels and clamp them straight on. But again, big question marks. And these are all things that they could very easily have addressed by putting this thing in people's hands ahead of time, but they have just pumped it out onto the market. Now, if we have a look at the wheel, okay, the wheel itself, standard D-shaped sort of GT wheel. It's got the fairly chunky button box on there with carbon fiber style paddles. We don't see. We do have the 2 analog sticks there, and 2 rotary encoders. So feature set seems all right. Nappa top leather, carbon fiber panel, gold plated magnetic blade, mechanical keyboard. Where's the mechanical keyboard on the steering wheel? Okay, D1 spec customized quick release. Okay, so they are claiming it to be D1 spec here. So, Alcantara from Italy, Nappa top leather. So you've got a choice of finishes here. Do you want Alcantara or leather? Okay, forged carbon fiber magnetic metal. So we've got a dual paddle shift, which is nice. Okay, that's a good basic feature set. You normally have to go pretty high up in most ecosystems to get that. Are they digital or analog? Made of forged carbon fiber, magnetic shift paddles deliver fast responsive shifts. So they're claiming to be magnetic shifters, but that would just mean they're digital. If we look at the deck here as well, decent number of buttons, menu, glance. So I'm guessing this is a fully analog stick. This is probably more of a digital stick. Button box looks fine. Advanced programmable buttons and knobs. We've got again, looks chunky. That's the kind of thing you want for a sim racing setup. So here's the back of the deck. So this is one magnet on the top paddle. Does that mean this bottom one's not magnetic? That's an odd choice. Okay, if that is an analog paddle, then that's probably fine. Okay, here we get a better view of the quick release. So customized race grade quick release. A customized quick release derived from race cars, making it possible to change the steering wheel in 1 second. So again, I get a little concerned. It would be fine if they just said D1 compatible or D1 spec, and they do say that up here, but when they start saying it's customized, if something's being moved away from the spec, you want to know, well, who's moving it away from that spec and why. So again, we'll put that in the neutral column for now. It could be a handy thing. Okay, Simagic run D1 spec, so that's nice. So there are 4 photoelectromagnetic sensors for the paddles, 2 of which can be defined as dual clutches or single clutches or programmable switches. So, okay, so that gives us some information about that. So that means that this bottom one is going to have a spongier travel because it's, I guess that one's going to serve as your dual clutch. But this one here has the magnet behind it, so it's going to be clickier for your shifter. Now, the photoelectromagnetic sensors, due to the use of non-contact photoelectric, so it's good that it's a low wear and tear switch. Doesn't tell us how much analog control is in that, so interesting. We have a continuous flow shift indicator light. So it evolved from a dot matrix to a continuous LED strip. What do they mean by evolved? From what prior product? Can produce 256 colors. Light timing and settings can be adjusted to meet a racer's needs. Again, nothing especially wrong with this, but it will be interesting to see how tunable that is. So, Invisible Connect wireless technology. So the power supply and signal transmission use a patented wireless technology developed by Moza. So these are electrical contacts. Okay, that's what's powering the furniture and the wheelbase, right? So I'm guessing the wireless part must be the induction, and it must just be like the Fanatec here, where it uses induction to transmit electricity from the controller at the back to a power line that runs through the shaft of the wheel here, and you know again, if you're going to steal from the one of the market leaders, and it's a good design, okay. But in terms of what actually connects the signal from the button box to the computer, again, I don't see unless this little insert in the middle here is plastic, which it could well be. Again, we don't know too much about the materials here. Is the receiver for the steering wheel here, or is it a pickup at the back of the wheelbase? But they don't tell us, so we've got to guess. And if you're going to spend $2,000 on a wheelbase, guessing just doesn't really fit. Right? I wouldn't gamble that kind of money on this many unknowns. So when we look at the specs, once again, we get vagueness. Okay, so the quick release, okay, so they are saying D1 spec here. Okay, so if that's compatible, that's terrific. But signal transmission is just wireless. Okay, question marks. And it seems like nitpicking, I'm sure, but when you're going to spend this kind of money on race hardware, you don't want to be scratching your head and going, I don't know what I'm getting for my money. Last thing, the pedals. We can see it's sort of Club Sport V3 inspired in terms of design. A 3-stage clutch. I like the idea of having a progressive clutch, so that's good. And everything's CNC machined. High precision pressure sensor. What sort of pressure sensor? Let's find out. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all made out of aluminium. That's all pretty standard. High precision pressure sensor can monitor braking force in real time, allowing a driver to visually understand the amount of braking force being applied. How? Like, what? What is giving the driver visual feedback about the amount of braking force that they're applying in the pedal set? Like, sure, the game can report to you, or you can look at the driver panel and see how much pressure you're putting on, but that's not really how brake. Like, no one wants to be going, oh, how much? What's my braking percentage? You're meant to be using feel, right? And load cells are great for that. Okay, and there are hydraulic and pneumatic sensors that are great for that, but we don't know. We can see there's a chip. There's a chip at the back. Great. What's it do? Okay, so 3-stage clutch, we can see that it's got like a mechanical apparatus, so you'll feel different resistance. So stage 1 provides 1 bit of pressure, then a sharp increase like a clutch spring, and then the release resistance. That's actually fine. Okay, I like the look of that. Having a multi-stage physical sort of clutch sensation, that's good. Okay, normally you have to go pretty high in the end of the market to get that. So you can change the resistance by using different springs and damping blocks. Okay, no numbers. We just got to keep guessing. Okay, organ-mounted pedals. They have a built-in CRP pedals sensor with a wide range of force detection. Now, this is the CRP pedals. So if we were to Google that, we would just get that. The Moza M pressure will always accurately measure force. Let's find out what Moza M pressure is. Hmm. Okay. So adjustable travel. Okay, R&D and testing handled by experienced drivers. We're in the business of developing quality sim racing products that racers can trust and rely upon for endurance. R&D is conducted by professional engineers experienced in the field of racing simulation. Product feedback from professional sim racers helps our engineers evaluate a design and focus on delivering a high quality experience sim racers will enjoy. First of all, why isn't this in the About Us part of the website? Okay, this would be applicable to the entire product range, right? For starters. Second of all, which professional racing drivers? What engineers? What's their background? Got a picture of a couple of drift cars. Okay. So, Finally, when we get all the way down here, we get to load cell, okay, and some measurements here. The actual monitoring force. So this tells us the spec of the load cell and then actually how much of it is being used. So we have to dig and dig and dig to determine that it's using a load cell sensor. Fantastic. All these other things are adjustable, but with no actual numbers. How much does this cost? $649, so the same as the competition. But again, vague upon vague upon vague. Now, I am fully prepared to admit these might be fine. Okay, but the biggest problem is this company's come out of nowhere. They haven't put these in the hands of anyone, and they're charging the exact same money as everyone else. It's a huge gamble. Okay. Now, there are a couple of other bits and bobs that I won't go into here. You've got the digital dash and the clamping setup, but let's just look a little bit more about what we can find out about the company, right? And the market. So, if we look at Moza Racing, this is the entirety of their results, right? Now, let's put quotes to make sure we filter out anything that's not specifically this. Okay, nothing. No web presence. There's one YouTuber who's got their hands on this stuff, and it's an unboxing video. Okay, and if we look at the product lineup, again, that's some pretty generic looking packaging. Like, it just doesn't give us much sense of what this company's about and who they are. And when you consider, again, the prices, right? We go to the R21 wheelbase. $20.99. We look at the steering wheel. $649. Okay, and this puts it head to head, toe to toe with Fanatec, but with no information, no pedigree. Okay, pricing wise, you're looking at the same money as the DD1, actually a little more money than the DD1 for pretty much the same performance. And if we look at what 649 gets you in the Fanatec ecosystem, okay, head to head against the universal wheelbase stuff. And at least with the universal wheelbase stuff, if you want to change out the rim, you can, right? You can adjust the distances on all the wheel hardware. You don't have the fancy RGB, but you do have a more customizable product. So, just too many question marks. Okay, this is the one and only thing about them on Reddit. The one and only video from them. And if we look at their Facebook page, it was started on the 17th of September. They've shared a couple of gaming videos. Okay. Mentioning the ADAC. Okay, I'm talking about a different brand. And then a couple of little hype shots on the 23rd. And then boom, they're live on the 26th. Give them your money. Trust us. We're born for sim races. Give these guys $2,000. Good luck with that. Too many question marks. It'll be interesting to see what emerges. You know, again, it's only early days, but you've always just got to be a little suspicious of a company that just jumps straight onto the market without doing any kind of build-up, like without putting these in the hands of enthusiasts and sim racers and, you know, more than one YouTubers. Where's the teardown from Barry? Anyway, hope that was an interesting rant. Bit of a long one, but you know, didn't script it. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.